Hey guys, I'm Andrew. Welcome to my channel. I'm poor. You're poor. We're all poor. But yet, we still want to shoot crap at the range. Shooting can be expensive. This video series is aimed to get you set up with everything you need to know and everything you need to have to shoot 9mm for about 5 cents a round. So whether you're experienced reloader, you've been doing this for a while and you're just looking at switching over to cast bullets, or you just are brand new to guns in general, you just bought your very first $100 bill high point pistol for $37 or whatever they're going for these days, we're going to get you set up wherever you're coming from. So the purpose of this series, or the purpose of what I'm going to teach you how to make, is not crazy high precision ammo or like match grade ammo or hunting. Okay, nobody hunts with 9mm, but you get the point. These are for plinking, they're for target practice, they're for shooting a lot of really cheap. So they're accurate, they're not bad, they're probably more accurate than factory ammo. They're just not match grade, so just temper your expectations a little bit here. I mean, there's 5 cents a round. So we're going to go through the steps what you need to do. Number one, slug your barrel. There's lots of videos on YouTube showing you how to do that, so I'm not going to go over it right now, but effectively you're taking a small piece of soft lead, you're shoving it down your barrel so that the lead gets formed into the exact shape of the inside of your barrel, and then you're measuring it. Do not measure it with calipers. Spend $15 on Amazon, buy this micrometer, or micrometer, I'm not sure what the correct way is to pronounce that, and measure with this, because if you're off by 1/10,000th of an inch, that might be enough to cause you some problems. There is a place to be cheap in casting and making bullets, and that is not the place. If I had just not been too cheap to buy a micrometer, I would have saved myself like 3 months of troubleshooting leading problems that ended up just being because my bullet was too small. And I thought it wasn't because I was measuring with calipers. So we're going to go through this video is pretty much a shopping list of everything you need and maybe the order in which you should buy it if you can't just buy it all at once. The rest of the series is going to be how to make the bullets, how to reload them, how to troubleshoot when you get leading, some advanced stuff for later on once you've got things dialed in. It's going to be awesome and I'm pumped. But we're going to start with casting equipment. Our next video in the series is going to be actually making these bullets. So if you can't buy all of this stuff all at once, start with the casting equipment. You need a pot. I'm going to give you recommendations for everything that I bought in each of these categories. Most of the time it's because it was the cheapest one. And the Lee 20-pound bottom pour production pot is pretty much right in that wheelhouse. It was not that expensive. It works great. You'll need a cast iron pan. I got mine from Walmart for $10 or something. That is for, and you need a hot plate with it too. So a cheap hot plate, a cheap cast iron pan. That's for taking the wheel weights that we're going to turn into bullets and melting them down and cleaning them so that you're not pouring gunk and crap into your production pot that's going to clog it up. You have to make clean fluxed ingots first and then put those into the production pot. You're going to need a cheap toaster oven and some Harbor Freight red powder coat. That is for powder coating your bullets, which is basically a substitute for lubricating your bullets. We're going to cover that in another episode. You're going to need, oh, and by the way, get Harbor Freight red. It's like $6 a pound. It's really cheap. There are definitely way better powder coats out there, but this stuff works, and don't get the black or the white or the yellow ones. They don't work as well. You're going to need a mold. I went with the Lee 6-cavity tumble lube round nose 9mm mold because newbie caster Andrew was like, oh, round nose, those are the coolest bullets. Now, newbie caster Andrew was objectively wrong about that, but if you want to get the truncated cone version of that same bullet instead, great, that's cool. I wish I had that one instead. The round nose one works great. There's other molds to look at too. But I went with the Lee 6-cavity tumble lube round nose, and it works. You'll need handles for that mold if you buy a Lee 6-cavity. They don't come with handles. You will need a cheap pan from the thrift store. This isn't the one you're going to use to melt things. This is just to catch the bullets so you can make a big pile of them without them rolling all over the place and falling off your bench and stuff. You're going to need a chunk of wood or a dowel or something that you can use to whack the mold to release the bullets if they get sticky in there. You'll need a tube of valve grinding compound. In a future video, we're going to cover how to expand the cavities in your mold if you need to do it. You probably do, just as a heads up. I used 220 grit that I got from like an O'Reilly Auto Parts or something. It was cheap. It worked great. Don't buy a thermometer. They're like $40 for the level of precision we need for casting these cheap plinking 9mm bullets. You don't need one. 2-stroke engine oil is about the cheapest way to lubricate your mold that I've found, and it works awesome. You're going to need to ask your mom for some paper towels, or like go out on the street, find a hobo and see if he's got some paper towels you can borrow. You're going to need some sawdust, clean sawdust if you can, and definitely dry sawdust. Don't get wet sawdust. Water and molten lead do not mix well. You're going to need some paraffin wax. That's basically just to, the sawdust is to flex and clean the gunky wheel weights into clean ingots. The paraffin wax is once it's in your production pot, you can kind of make a layer or a skin of wax on top of it that helps it not oxidize. Once you've got all your cast equipment, you're going to need to buy some reloading equipment. If you've already been reloading, you probably have all of this, and frankly, you probably have better ones than I do. You'll need a bench. I built one out of 2x4s when I was starting off because it was that cheap. It cost me basically nothing. I think I got some bolts. Leave me a comment in this video if you want the plans for it. I wrote them up. I think I posted them to Reddit a few months ago, so I can definitely get them to you if you want to do it. It worked. I have since upgraded to this mega nice, awesome Harbor Freight flat packed bench that is possibly the best bench anyone can buy with money. You'll need a press. I went with the Lee Challenger kit. The kit, not just the press. The press is great. It's all cheap. That's why I went with it. But it works. And the kit came with a lot of good stuff. So you'll need a powder scale, which came in my kit. You'll need a powder measure, which came in my kit. You'll need a loading block. Let me grab this one sec. This is actually the one I use for a different caliber, but this isn't the 9mm one, but these blue ones from Frankfurt Arsenal are great. They work really well. They're cheap. You don't really need a loading block if you're being super cheap. You can just load, you can drill some holes in a piece of wood. You can set it on a flat surface and try not to knock it over. But I recommend a loading block. It's worth having. You'll need a set of calipers. Eventually you're going to want one, so you don't necessarily probably need one for these specific rounds, but it's the best way to measure your overall length. So I'd get one on Amazon. You'll need a set of dies. I went with the Lee 4-die carbide 9mm set because it was the cheapest one. Are you sensing a pattern here? A few things to know about dies. There are way nicer dies out there than the Lee caliber or the Lee carbide pistol dies, but these ones work. Some of them need some modification because of some important differences between cast bullets and jacketed bullets. Some of the stuff you can do to reload jacketed bullets will ruin your cast bullets and mess things up. So we'll go over all the modifications later on. It's mostly pretty simple stuff, but I would go with the 4-die carbide 9mm set from Lee. It's cost effective. Don't get the 3-die set from Lee. That has a combined crimp and seating die, which you don't want for cast bullets, generally speaking. We're going to need a decapping die. Again, you probably don't really need this, but it's nice for me to be able to decap my brass while it's dirty, then clean it, and then size it and everything after that. If you don't get a decapping die, you either have to clean it twice, or just deal with the fact that your primer holes are kind of dirty because you cleaned it before you deprimed it. You'll need a bullet sizing die. Depending on what your barrel casts or your barrel slugs out to and your inner dimensions there will tell you what size you want your bullet to be. For the record, I have a .358 inch sizing die, which works perfect for my gun. You might need bigger or smaller. Slug your barrel. We'll get into figuring that all out later. So next you're going to need consumables. You'll need powder of some sort. I'm going to say this. You can talk ad nauseum about powder and debate the relative merits of different ones and test out every single powder in the entire world if you want to. I have done some testing. In my experience, the best one for me has been W231 so far, but I'm far from done testing. So save yourself the trouble. HP38 or W231, which are the same thing, or Accurate number 2. They might not be the very best powder for your pistol, but they definitely will work, and it's a good starting point as any. Also, they're pretty cheap, so go with one of those ones if you want to save yourself the effort of reading a bunch of internet arguments about what the best powder is. Next, you're going to need primers. I use CCI 500. Anything marked small pistol primer, but not small pistol magnum primer, pretty much is going to be fine. Remington, Federal, CCI, Winchester, there are differences between them. They're pretty small, and I think they all cost about the same. The only way I think you can get a better deal than about $30 per 1,000 primers is if you buy, like, send 70,000 of them at a time from the former Soviet Union. So, CCI 500, that's what I use. You will need brass, but don't buy brass. If you buy 9mm brass, like, you're the biggest sucker in the world. Go to the nearest range, look on the ground, pick up 200,000 pieces of 9mm brass for free because almost nobody thinks it's worth it to reload 9mm. They're wrong. Lead is the last consumable you need. So we're going to talk about this a little more in the next episode, but long story short, get wheel weights. Talk to tire places around you, auto repair shops, anywhere that does tire work. They will have wheel weights that they've pulled off people's cars. Just go in. I've had good luck just walking in and being like, hey guys, I use scrap lead and make bullets out of it. Can I have your wheel weights? And most of the time they're like, yep. Or trade some Mountain Dew for it or something. But yeah, it's really easy to get wheel weights for free. I actually have a relative. My father-in-law works at a very large car dealership that also has like a big chunk of it dedicated to servicing auto stuff. So I get like 2 buckets of wheel weights a week for free. That's great. Next, after you have consumables, you're going to need brass prep stuff. I left this last because if you really want to get into like dirt cheap reloading, and as far as equipment goes, you don't really need to clean your brass. You can just kind of like swish it around in some water and let it dry, because it doesn't need to look pretty. It doesn't need to be nice. As long as it doesn't have like grit and crap on it that's going to scratch up and wear out your dies, it will work just fine. So I use a Harbor Freight rock tumbler, and I wet tumble with Lemishine and dish soap, and that makes my brass nice and clean and shiny in about 2 hours. Costs very little. But yeah, if you don't want to buy brass prep stuff, that's fine. Don't buy it. So that's it. In the last segment of this video, we're going to go over a little bit of math so that you can justify to your significant other why you want to spend a bunch of money on stuff. You're going to spend about $450 to get all of the equipment in one go that you need. Math here. $450 at really good bulk pricing for like pretty crappy bulk factory ammo online. It's like 15 cents a round for that stuff. So for $450, the cost of getting you started, you can buy about 3,000 rounds of crappy bulk ammo. You're going to pay, after you have your stuff, something like 5 cents a round. So you're saving 10 cents every time you pull the trigger once you've bought this stuff. Now, me personally, I don't shoot really that much. You probably don't believe me because I have an entire YouTube channel talking about shooting and reloading. But apparently I spend way more time talking about shooting and reloading than actually shooting and reloading, which I'm not sure what that says about my credibility, but point being, I don't shoot that much. I shoot maybe 500 rounds of 9mm a month. I go to the range 2 or 3 times. I shoot 200 bullets each time, something like that. So it took me less than a year to save $450 at that rate. So less than a year, your initial investment to get into this has paid for itself, and from the rest of your life, you're shooting 9mm for 5 cents a round. That's awesome. Other calibers, like 9mm is like the least savings of any caliber. Other calibers, you save way more. I save probably about 8 cents a round shooting .223, and that's because the powder cost is a lot higher than the projectile cost when you're casting. I save about 25, I'd probably save upwards of 25 cents a round when I'm shooting 7.62 by 54 rims for my Mosin Nagant by casting my own. And if you shoot like weird calibers that are expensive ammo, like, I don't know, like 50 Beowulf or 458 Silcom or something like that, you're going to save huge amounts of money by reloading your own cast bullets or casting your own bullets to reload, because projectile cost is a huge consideration when you're reloading like weirdo calibers. So I know that did not convince your significant other to let you spend $450 today. So sell plasma, sell, 1 to 3 kidneys, whatever you need to do. Save up, get this stuff, but buy it in this order. Casting equipment first, because that's what our next video is going to use. Then reloading equipment if you don't have it already. Then consumables so you can actually crank out some bullets. And lastly, get the brass prep stuff so your bullets can look really cute. That's it. That's all I got for you guys. This is the first video. I know it wasn't that exciting. But next video, we're going to get into actually casting, how to make these bullets so that they're ready to reload. We'll talk a little bit about hardness, that kind of stuff. So if you like this video, or if you want to see when the next one drops, like and subscribe, or leave me a comment and tell me why I suck, or I don't know. Actually, have not decided if I care that much about trying to get a big following on this channel. So if you don't like and subscribe, I won't really be that offended. That's all I have though. You're awesome. I'm excited to reload with you virtually.